the first poem is actually, I read this interview with Takashi Murakami, and he was talking about how he thinks the role of the artist is to see the future and then somehow like bring that forth a little bit. So this poem is called I Will See the Future. I will see the future. I'm privileged more than him. I will probably go on living. Truth will out, they say. For years, I've been vigilant. It could come from anyone, even myself. It's like Magritte, only a gray sky full of moles in blue suits. I've seen the future a few times, and it's so surprising. I think bright colors. I think bright eyes. This is where my love lies. My love lies. And it's not like a movie where there's just one bad guy. If you wait long enough, most people are going to make a mistake. So you start on forgiveness, and then that takes forever. Starting in the past, whether or not you knew it, and casting out to the love that lies in your future self. Still, for a while afterward, I was embarrassed. I guess I get a lot of it from my dad, but he can't see the future. The mushroom clouds and mushrooms, the new kinds of music, the way the angels live among us in their ragged clothes, how our light will reveal who we are. So, okay, this one is kind of a love poem. It's called The Comeback. I've been so busy, my hand in the bird box. We could become a house where the porch light breaks on moths from June to October, and afterward months of snow. Still, I've never been so busy, crushing deep down, do I, in my fist. I fear the cold eye, the snow shine, the denuded tree against the empty sky. Cheep, cheep, the love goes, and it returns like caw. All right, so this poem is first indie, and actually, but although in the poem it started this poet named Liliana Ursu that some of you might know, who I saw her read like about a month ago, and I just like felt like I was in the presence of something divine. So this is kind of like about hearing her talk. And while she was talking, she also mentioned that in Romania, when she first started writing poetry, you weren't allowed to use the word loneliness. And eventually then they re-allowed it, and all these poets started having parties, like loneliness parties, so they were allowed to use that word again, so that's in here. You said, it's called How the Little Bear Reflected Light. You said, I've written no manifestos. You can check my typewriter if you'd like. I'll strike every key for you, but keep in mind how it degrades us both to verify. Me, I came to Massachusetts like a pilgrim, not a Puritan, but still I tried to find the holy path. I circled the black box of poetry where the last words were recorded, that indestructible box in any sky. I came here for just 3 things, and I was ready to kneel or pray for them. At last, companionable with this void, I found fear only at the mouth of it. You had a loneliness party. When the word was returned to you, they had taken away your days and your nights, but loneliness was back at last. A large, bright room with enough space to kneel down or lie flat on your face and ask and wait. By the way, I like waltz time too. Something dies after every 3, and then the one returns to you. I'd sought the wrong kind of angel. I thought he'd be completely drenched in beauty, but instead he was profane. He reeked of yeast and brackish water, and his halo looked like lines drawn out from the head, indicating pain. When I found him, we went deep into the room of loneliness together, and the things we said were never written down. I changed. You said, go to the place where your heart first beat, and there I found my number 3. I took my pulse. I breathed. Long ago, I was born in a birthday cake that stood just above the beach. A plane fell from the sky that day, and my father, his sad brown eyes lashed above his epaulets, piloted the plane. Through the whole fiery crash, everyone was safe. So first this, I built a bridge to that abyss where I could stand to look at it. I put statues on both sides, the fair dead to the left and all the saints off to the right, and work in from the edge, tunneling by hand. And the second thing I found tonight, your light wall, what I sought and sought to be. St. Francis breathing inside your poetry and on your glowing face, no less. I was named for a flower too, and I came to live and die and then be nothing here at all. Why worry? I'm green, even here, near you, wearing my best disguise of blue. Once, with that filthy angel, I learned a game of chance. I would jut out my hand, flat like paper, shouting, "Poetry!" And he would make a claw and whisper, "Ball of light," and grab the paper. Or he would hold out a fist and tell me, "Daily bread," and I'd rest my paper on the bread to earn it. We went on like this for hours until the touching of our hands became like a fire. But then I chose Ball of Light, and he went with Daily Bread, and the game became inert, so we sat down to eat the bread, which in the end had a baby in it, like a king cake. I named her Liliana. I put her in my pocket. Then the bats flew in. I couldn't even tell if they were real, but we were fighting them with our poetry, open hands waving in the air. Then he left, but first he drew his hand up to his chest and replaced the ball of light, and I rolled my poetry up into a little loaf of bread, and in this big bright room I loved the child. That was the end. So that's that poem. And now this is like a long erasure poem that's kind of a lot about language and like kind of some of the problems of being an anthropologist. So the first poem in here is called, or potential problems, as I imagine them not being an anthropologist. But this is called Lesson in Translation Techniques. Absence of numbers at the mouth. These dwellings that wound near the riverbank, a knife, scraping implements, arrowheads, teeth, and soda can pull tabs toward what grows when you spit the seed out. They sew themselves, paint themselves, invisible to the naked eye. Our best guess, their language retreated deep into the jungle, displayed phonemes and sharp intakes of breath. Individual words were hard to learn. The words differ only in pitch, tongues women use than men do. We struggled over grammar. The book of halting, it was just a story, replaced the standard answer. Okay, the language wording. A heart can be described through analyses of the properties of hope, that branching noun, deep like science. A strict time collected, completed, and published a book replete with tree diagrams, leaving out a lot of stuff. These gaps were unexplainable to me. There's always some question you hope they won't ask. That was always the first thing. A simpler model. Faithfully, the papers made pilgrimages to collect, to figure. Trouble, he only allows you to talk about tree structures. Who died, fascinated in language, an acquired skill, as truly as to wonder was entirely good thing that we lost. You may have given us absolutely no insight whatsoever. The first principle, the capacity to hear in the womb grows like any other body. Embroiled, subjected, exonerated, they could return a reflection of his waning faith, difficult to sustain or rekindle. Bug and snake proof that boat. And this is another one about tree structures. A tree structure splits into two others. That's a tree structure. Thoughts inside of other thoughts, absent from their syntax, excoriated, troubled by paper. It's really important to know that it's a question. A child at birth would have no troubled tongue. They understand how to catch and avoid, no tools or weapons, and out-survive the acquisition of language. And then this is the last one. It's called The Bridge. No memory, no myths, few before the forest, no fixed word for colors. A red cup looks like blood. Extract a red dye. The first year tutored herself, listening slightly. The room could be locked. The second year borrowed a boat from the river soon before joining him, the joy all beaten to death. That's what you do for God.